The palace of Queen Zyra loomed over the planet Viridian like a jagged crown of crystal. Its towers gleamed under the twin suns, casting long shadows over the alien city below. The people of the Empire, sleek and powerful, moved with grace and precision. Every corner of the palace spoke of order, control, and the intelligence of its ruler. Yet inside, Queen Zyra's mind was troubled, not by her empire or her enemies, but by her daughter, Lyra. The word alone carried frustration for Zyra. Her daughter, unlike the rest of the royal line, had always been disappointing. Weak in strength, clumsy in skill, and dangerously curious about things that had no use in the empire. While other heirs learned strategies, warfare, and science at a young age, Lyra painted pictures of Earth's oceans, read stories about humans, and experimented with strange music devices she secretly obtained from alien traders. "She is useless," Zyra muttered to her advisors one morning, pacing the length of her council chamber. "She brings nothing to this empire but embarrassment. If she cannot uphold our name, then we must find another way to manage her." The advisors, a group of sharp-eyed, elegant aliens, exchanged quiet glances. They had learned long ago that challenging the queen openly was dangerous, but even they were concerned. "What would you propose, Your Majesty?" one asked, his voice smooth, careful. Zyra's eyes gleamed. "A marriage. Not just any marriage, a human." There was a pause. Humans were a distant species, primitive, fragile, and considered laughable by alien standards. They could barely survive without technology, and their minds were quaint, at best. "A human," the advisor's antenna twitched in disbelief. "Your daughter?" "Exactly." Zyra cut him off sharply. "My daughter is weak. She cannot carry the weight of this empire. She will fail on her own. A human husband will serve as a test. If she can adapt, it will be a minor miracle. If she cannot, at least we will have removed her from the political stage." The advisor bowed his head. "As you wish, Your Majesty." Zyra's plan was simple, in her mind. She summoned Lyra to the throne room. The young princess entered, her movements soft and hesitant, carrying the elegance of her lineage but none of its fierceness. She glanced at her mother, her large eyes full of curiosity and a hint of fear. "Mother," Lyra said, bowing politely. "You asked for me?" Zyra stood tall, her voice cold but controlled. "Lyra, it is time we discussed your future." Lyra's eyes sparkled with interest. "I have been thinking about the new music device from Earth. It's fascinating how they create harmony with such simple machines." Zyra suppressed a sigh. "You will have no time for that. You are to marry a human." Lyra froze. "A human? But mother, humans are small, fragile." "Yes," Zyra said sharply. "And exactly what you deserve." She let her words hang in the air, sharp as a blade. "His name is Ethan. He is an engineer from Earth. He will be your husband. The marriage will take place on the palace ship within a week." Lyra blinked, unsure if she should protest or laugh. "But, Mother, why would you choose a human?" Zyra's lips curled into a small, cruel smile. "Because, my dear, I wish to see if you can survive at all. If you cannot, the Empire will be rid of your incompetence quietly. Consider it a test." Lyra's heart sank. She had always been different, yes, but she had never felt so hopeless. And yet, there was a flicker of excitement. Humans were strange and unpredictable, but they were also curious. They might teach her things she had never known. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Lyra was prepared for the ceremony, taught the customs of her human husband, and briefed on the diplomatic expectations. Ethan, the human, arrived aboard the palace ship, wide-eyed and nervous. His small frame and simple clothing made him appear almost fragile compared to the towering aliens around him. When they met, Ethan bowed politely, his hands trembling slightly. "Princess Lyra, it is an honor to meet you." Lyra studied him carefully. There was nothing impressive about him physically, nothing commanding, nothing regal. Yet there was a gentleness in his eyes, a quiet intelligence that drew her attention. Zyra, watching from a distance, suppressed a chuckle. She expected awkwardness, failure, or immediate disappointment. But Lyra's lips curved into a small, polite smile. "Hello, Ethan," she said softly. "I hope you are ready to live with me." Ethan nodded, unsure what to say next. He could feel the eyes of the Queen on him, sharp and calculating, measuring every move. Yet he did not falter. In his mind, he reminded himself, humans had survived worse, and ingenuity could often surpass strength. The wedding itself was a grand affair, held in the highest hall of the palace ship. Alien diplomats from across the galaxy attended, curious to see the outcome of this unusual union. Lyra wore a gown that shimmered like liquid crystal, while Ethan wore the ceremonial garb of his people, simple but neat. Zyra's gaze was relentless. She expected mishaps. She expected failure. But none came. The ceremony concluded, and the two were officially married. Lyra and Ethan bowed to the guests, and then, in private, he whispered, "I will do my best. Princess Lyra, I will not be a burden." Lyra's heart warmed. "You are not a burden, Ethan. Perhaps, together, we will learn something new." The Queen's advisors whispered among themselves. They had expected chaos, scandal, perhaps even ridicule. Instead, they witnessed something strange, a connection forming between two beings from entirely different worlds. In the days following the wedding, Ethan adapted to life aboard the palace ship. He asked questions, took notes, and offered small ideas for engineering improvements to the ship's systems. Lyra found herself intrigued by his perspective. Where aliens saw rules and limits, he saw possibilities and opportunities. Zyra, on the other hand, was growing impatient. She had expected him to fail spectacularly, to embarrass her daughter, to show the weaknesses of humans. Instead, he quietly, unassumingly impressed her, and she did not like it. One evening, Zyra summoned Ethan to the private chamber. The human entered cautiously, bowing. "Your Majesty," he said. "Sit," Zyra commanded, her voice sharp. Ethan obeyed. She studied him closely. "Do you realize what you have done?" she asked, her tone both warning and curious. Ethan tilted his head. I am not sure, Your Majesty. I try to help however I can." Zyra's eyes narrowed. "Help? Your small human mind has already corrected calculations in the palace shields, suggested ways to increase energy efficiency, and even helped Lyra organize her studies. Your usefulness is remarkable, and that worries me." Ethan blinked. "I do not wish to worry anyone. I only want to learn and contribute." Zyra's mind raced. This was not how it was supposed to go. Her useless daughter had a human husband who was quietly, subtly, changing the way things worked, changing the way she thought about power and ability. That night, Lyra and Ethan shared a quiet moment in the observation deck, looking out at the swirling nebulae. "You are not what I expected," Lyra said softly. "And you are not what I expected either," Ethan replied with a small smile. "You are more capable than your mother gives you credit for." Lyra laughed quietly, the sound like a delicate chime. "I am supposed to fail. Mother expects me to fail." Roover. Ethan reached out and held her hand. "Then we will do it together. We will surprise her. And maybe, one day, she will see the truth." Lyra squeezed his hand, a spark of hope igniting inside her. The road ahead was uncertain, and the Queen's eyes would always watch them. But for the first time, she felt empowered. And somewhere deep in her heart, Lyra knew the Empire would never be the same again. Years passed since the wedding of Lyra and Ethan. The palace ship that once symbolized alien power now seemed like a distant memory to the couple. They had moved to a peaceful hybrid world, a small planet specially designed for both humans and aliens to coexist. Here, Lyra's spirit could roam freely, and Ethan's ingenuity found room to grow. Their life was quiet but full of small wonders. The planet had rolling green fields, oceans that reflected both suns, and skies alive with colors unknown to the alien eye. Lyra spent her days studying art, music, and human culture. Ethan, meanwhile, built, tinkered, and improved everything around him. Simple machines became engines. Engines became energy systems. And slowly, the human mind began transforming the hybrid world. The first signs of change appeared when Ethan suggested improving the water distribution system. The hybrids of the planet struggled to get clean water, and the aliens dismissed human solutions as impractical. But Ethan designed a network of filters and pumps powered by solar energy. It worked flawlessly, providing water to every settlement. Lyra watched in awe. "You've done something no alien counselor could achieve," she said one evening, as the sun painted the sky in shades of orange and violet. Ethan smiled, scratching his head. "I just thought logically. You know, human style. Observe, plan, build." Lyra laughed. "Maybe humans are better at solving problems than we gave them credit for." It wasn't long before their children were born. Twin boys, each a blend of alien grace and human curiosity, with bright eyes and sharp minds. They were strong, quick learners, and remarkably inventive. Already, before they could even speak fluently, they began to ask questions about machines, planets, and stars. Queen Zyra, however, remained distant. Reports from her spies occasionally trickled in. "Your daughter remains alive," the advisors would say with a smirk. "And she is doing well." Zyra's pride would not allow her to believe it. Lyra was supposed to fail. Ethan was supposed to be insignificant. And yet, somehow, their little human-alien family thrived. The first real shock came when Zyra received word that Ethan had created a new energy generator. Using a combination of alien crystals and human-engineered circuits, it produced more energy than any alien system she had ever seen. Not only that, but it could power entire colonies independently. Zyra's eyes narrowed. "A human? Created something superior to alien technology?" she muttered, pacing her throne room. "Impossible." Her advisors shifted uncomfortably. "The reports are verified, Your Majesty. Your daughter and her husband are making remarkable progress." Zyra slammed her clawed hand on the console. "Remarkable progress is irrelevant. I must see this for myself." Meanwhile, Lyra and Ethan continued their quiet life. They didn't seek glory or recognition. Their inventions were meant to improve life for the hybrids and humans who lived on the planet. Lyra watched her husband carefully. Where others saw limits, he saw potential. Where others gave up, he persisted. And slowly, Lyra realized that Ethan's presence had changed her too. She was no longer clumsy, hesitant, or unsure. She could make decisions confidently, lead projects, and even negotiate with visiting aliens, with a calm authority she had never known. One afternoon, a small crisis arose. A storm of cosmic energy approached the planet, capable of damaging cities and energy grids. The Hybrid Council was panicked. Alien technology alone could not shield the planet. Ethan stepped forward calmly. "We need a layered shield. I'll combine alien force fields with human energy rerouting. It will protect the planet and conserve power." Lyra watched, amazed at his calm authority. Together, they implemented the plan. When the storm hit, the shield held. Cities were safe, people cheered, and the council members looked at Ethan with astonishment. Zyra, observing from a distant satellite, felt an unexpected chill. She had always believed humans to be fragile, weak, and incapable. Yet here was a human, leading an entire hybrid planet through a disaster, saving countless lives. And he did it with patience, creativity, and quiet confidence. Her advisors whispered nervously, "Your Majesty, your daughter, she has grown powerful, but the human—" "Silence," Zyra snapped. But even she could not hide the seed of doubt that had taken root. Over time, more reports came. Ethan's inventions improved agriculture, transportation, and communication systems. Lyra's leadership united humans and aliens in ways the Empire itself had never achieved. And their children, already showing incredible aptitude, began innovating small machines that were decades ahead of alien technology. It was undeniable. The useless daughter was no longer useless. She was strong, confident, and influential. And her human husband, the very creature Zyra had expected to fail spectacularly, was the key to it all. One evening, Zyra could no longer bear it. She decided to visit the hybrid planet herself, in disguise. No royal insignia, no guards, just her. She wanted to see the truth with her own eyes. She arrived at the outskirts of the city and observed from a hidden vantage point. The humans and aliens worked together seamlessly. Lyra walked among them, giving instructions, listening, and guiding with an authority that made Zyra's own subjects pale in comparison. Ethan moved among the machines, explaining and adjusting with skill that seemed almost magical. And then Zyra saw her grandchildren. 2 boys, no more than 7, building a small flying device. They laughed, experimented, and improved it without hesitation. Aliens around them watched in awe. Zyra's heart pounded. She had underestimated humans, and her daughter. Later that night, she confronted Lyra and Ethan, still in disguise. She watched them in their home, quiet and unassuming, but full of warmth, wisdom, and intelligence. Lyra and Ethan did not notice her at first, but Zyra saw everything. "This is impossible," she whispered to herself. "Humans cannot. No, they must not be this capable." Ethan turned to Lyra. "I think they'll figure it out soon," he said, pointing to the device their children were building. "They just need time and guidance." Lyra smiled. "I know, and I'm proud of them." Zyra felt a pang she had never expected, pride. But it was quickly followed by anger and regret. She had believed she could control her daughter's fate, manipulate it with a human husband. Yet, here was the proof that her plans had backfired. Lyra and Ethan were more than capable. They were brilliant. She left that night without being seen, but the vision of her daughter's success haunted her. In the following months, the Empire began to notice the hybrid planet's rise. Trade flourished, technology advanced, and even other alien leaders whispered of the human problem, the one Zyra had created by underestimating them. Advisors tried to reassure her. "Your Majesty, the planet may succeed, but it is far away. Your empire remains supreme." Zyra's eyes were sharp. "Distance does not matter. If humans and my daughter can achieve this, they could influence everything. And they might surpass us." Her mind raced. How had she failed to see this earlier? How had she thought a human would be weak? And how had she doubted her daughter, the very child she had expected to fail? Lyra, unaware of her mother's internal storm, continued to live peacefully. She grew stronger, wiser, and more capable each day. She learned diplomacy, strategy, and engineering from Ethan, blending human ingenuity with alien intellect. The once useless princess had become the beating heart of a new world. And somewhere, Far away, the Queen began to regret every decision she had made regarding her daughter. The hybrid world thrived under Lyra and Ethan's guidance. Humans and aliens learned from each other, building a society neither species could have achieved alone. Lyra and Ethan worked quietly, not seeking recognition, but ensuring the planet's people were safe, happy, and prosperous. Yet the Queen's shadow lingered. She could not forget what she had seen. The knowledge that her daughter had surpassed expectations, the human husband had outshone alien standards, and the children had begun to innovate beyond her imagination. It burned in her mind. Zyra realized something important. The Empire could not afford to ignore humans any longer, and the daughter she once considered useless was now the key to a future she could not control. The first part of regret had begun. The Empire of Viridian was not used to being challenged. For centuries, it had been a realm of precision, power, and control, ruled by Queen Zyra with unmatched intelligence and strength. Yet now, in the quiet of her throne room, she felt a fear that was foreign to her, a fear born not of war, but of underestimating the human mind and her daughter's hidden strength. Reports had grown urgent. A neighboring alien faction, jealous of Viridian's power, had mobilized fleets along the borders. They threatened to invade, claiming weakness within the Empire. It was a political storm Zyra had never faced in her long reign. And despite her careful planning and advisors, she realized that she could not handle it alone. The thought that brought her the most unease, the one that gnawed at her pride, was this: she needed her daughter and the human husband she had once deemed useless. Zyra left her throne room in secrecy and boarded a small, inconspicuous vessel. Her mind raced as she traveled to the hybrid world where Lyra and Ethan lived. She could not face them, as the Queen, not yet. She would go quietly, observe, and if necessary, appeal for help in a manner that preserved her dignity. When she arrived, the planet greeted her with calm skies and the soft hum of human-alien life. She observed from a hilltop, overlooking the main city. Lyra walked among the people, directing energy projects, teaching children, and coordinating engineers. Ethan moved beside her, adjusting circuits, explaining calculations, and solving problems that even experienced alien engineers had found impossible. The Queen's eyes narrowed. This was her daughter, once considered incapable, now standing as a pillar of intelligence, courage, and leadership. And the human Ethan was the key to it all. His inventions, ideas, and logic had transformed the planet into a model society. Zyra's pride twisted inside her. How could she have been so blind? She had underestimated them both. Later that day, a messenger arrived with urgent news. The neighboring faction had begun the invasion. Their fleets were advancing faster than expected. Viridian's own defenses would barely hold. Zyra had no choice. She had to ask for her daughter's help. She approached the palace of Lyra and Ethan, but not as the Queen. She presented herself as a worried observer, cloaked and unmarked. Lyra greeted her politely, curious about the stranger who had come unannounced. "Who are you?" Lyra asked. "I am a traveler," Zyra said carefully, hiding her voice slightly. "I bring word of danger to your people. The Empire of Viridian is under threat. They require assistance." Lyra studied her silently, but her eyes were kind. "You are not from our world. You speak like one with knowledge of the Empire. Come inside. We will discuss this." We will discuss this." Inside the palace, Zyra saw firsthand how the hybrid world functioned. Humans and aliens worked together, their differences complementing one another. Machines hummed, devices whirred, and everywhere was a sense of order that was both disciplined and flexible. Lyra listened intently as Zyra explained the situation. "The neighboring fleet is strong," Zyra said carefully. "Viridian cannot face them alone. They need your skills." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "You speak of my home planet?" Yes, Zyra said, her voice quiet but firm. The Empire is in danger. I need your help. Lyra's eyes softened. She sensed the truth, even without knowing the Queen's identity fully. She turned to Ethan. We can help, of course. But we must act quickly. And so they began. The hybrid family coordinated defenses, combining human creativity with alien technology. Ethan designed new energy shields, using a mix of alien crystals and human circuitry to protect key areas. Lyra organized the defense teams, ensuring both humans and aliens worked seamlessly together. Their children, now 10 and showing remarkable intelligence, contributed by identifying weaknesses in enemy systems and suggesting new strategies. Queen Zyra, watching from the control room, felt a mix of awe and shame. Her daughter, once useless, was saving the Empire. And the human husband, whom she had underestimated, was the driving force behind it all. When the enemy fleets arrived, they were met with an unexpected resistance. Shields shimmered with unusual strength, weapons recalibrated with human precision, and hybrid strategies confused even the most experienced alien generals. The invasion faltered. The Empire, once vulnerable, now held its ground. In the midst of battle, Zyra finally revealed herself to Lyra and Ethan. She entered the command center, her imposing presence demanding attention. I am the Queen of Viridian, she said, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. And I underestimated you both. Lyra stepped forward calmly. Mother, you do not need to fight alone. We can help you. That is why we are here. Ethan nodded. We only want to ensure your people are safe. Pride and titles do not matter now. Zyra felt her chest tighten. Pride had always been her armor. But now, faced with the undeniable truth of human ingenuity and her daughter's growth, she realized that armor was unnecessary. The Empire was safe because of them, not despite them. The battle ended with the neighboring faction retreating, unable to overcome the hybrid strategies. Viridian was saved, and the hybrid world had played a crucial role. The Queen's advisors looked at her with surprise. She had not only survived the political storm, but she had done so thanks to the very daughter she had once dismissed. After the battle, Zyra stood alone, reflecting. She had made a mistake in judging her daughter, in underestimating humans, in believing that strength alone defined value. The Empire thrived not through sheer force, but through creativity, collaboration, and courage. Lyra approached her mother quietly. Mother, she said softly, I never wanted to defy you. I only wanted to live, learn, and help. And now, together, we have saved your empire. Zyra felt tears prick her eyes. She had always believed control and power were the ultimate measure of worth, but her daughter and the human had shown her otherwise. You were right about one thing, Zyra said finally, her voice trembling. You are extraordinary, and the human, he is no fool. Ethan smiled politely. I am only human, but humans adapt, learn, and try to improve. That is all we can do. The Queen's pride softened into humility. She realized that, for centuries, her empire had overlooked the power of human thought, creativity, and resilience. And she realized that her daughter, once useless, was now the empire's hidden strength. In the months that followed, Zyra began to rebuild her relationship with Lyra and Ethan. She no longer attempted to control them, but sought advice, guidance, and collaboration. The Empire began to embrace human ingenuity, alien precision, and hybrid innovation, creating a future far brighter than Zyra had ever imagined. The Queen learned to let go of her arrogance, accepting that true power did not lie in strength alone, but in wisdom, creativity, and the courage to value all life, regardless of species. Lyra, Ethan, and their children continued to lead quietly, innovating, teaching, and improving life across the hybrid world and the Empire. And Queen Zyra, once proud and unyielding, found herself inspired by the very family she had once dismissed. In the end, the queen's regret transformed into admiration. She had once married her useless daughter to a human, expecting failure. Instead, she discovered that the daughter she had doubted and the human she had underestimated were the greatest strengths her empire had ever known. And the galaxy, watching the rise of the hybrid world, began to whisper a new story. Not of alien supremacy, but of human ingenuity, courage, and the power of collaboration across worlds.